Welcome back to the Shift Weekly. So this week is our first kind of official week. We kicked off 2 weeks ago before the Thanksgiving holiday, and Laura and I are back here with you on Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. For those of you that are streaming in live, we're so happy to have you here. Feel free to pop into the chat and say hello and let us know where you're joining from today. Laura, are we all set with our Instagram folks?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just double checking.
Perfect. Yeah, just bear with us a moment while Laura gets our Instagram queue all ready to go. And yeah, I'll just take a moment to kind of introduce what we're going to be talking about today. And the experience that you can expect to have as you tune in, again, either here live or if you're watching the recording with us. So Laura and I we've been, of course, like noodling and feeling into some of the common themes and patterns that we hear time and time again, and that we see time and time again, not only from our clients and students, but just our larger community and even those in our personal lives. And so the topic today is the trap of trying to stay calm. The trap of trying to stay calm. How high achievers accidentally regulate themselves out of their power, out of their creativity, and out of their momentum. And so we're going to be talking, just a little bit more about what we mean by all of that here in a moment. And what we wanted to invite you to do before we start diving into the topic and the conversation today, and of course we want to hear from you. So if you have something that's immediately popping up for you, just even as I share that topic that you'd like to share, feel free to share in the chat. But before we do that, we're going to just take about 90 seconds just to get a little bit more grounded here, allow ourselves just the opportunity to come a little bit more into the present moment. I know for many of us, we're in the middle of a busy day, maybe coming from a meeting or getting ready for a next conversation or something else on our plates. And so these next 90 seconds are just think of this as like a little brain break for you. Just an opportunity to, again, settle in and just really make the most and get the most out of our time together today. So we're going to start off just by getting into a comfortable position. So maybe you're seated, maybe you're already feeling pretty comfortable, pretty cozy. You can also experiment with doing this walking or standing. So just really like meeting yourself where you are. There's no need to over-engineer or find the perfect posture or position. Just settling in with whatever feels right for you right now. And you can have your hands placed on your lap or down by your side. Just again, kind of whatever feels comfortable and most natural. Just to really allowing yourself to kind of arrive here in a position that feels really easeful for you to sit in or be in. So we're going to start here by just simply starting to turn your head toward the right side of the room or the space that you're in, just gently, as far as you can go without straining it. And we're going to take just 5 to 10 seconds here just to kind of gaze and just really getting curious about noticing what you see here. So for me, I'm looking outside of my window out into the street. I see a car, a tree. You don't have to overanalyze it, but just like noticing what you kind of just organically see as you gaze to this side of the space. Maybe even just noticing like, oh yeah, there's some neck tension here that I'm feeling or noticing. Not judging it, but just noticing. And then we'll come back to center slowly, turning your head. And we'll do the same thing on the left side. So again, just kind of starting to turn your neck and your gaze over to the left. Yeah, just noticing what you see here now. Maybe there's something right out in front of you that you're really noticing, a color or an object. Maybe something else. Just noticing like how far you see. Maybe this side feels a little different than the first side, and that's really normal and natural. So just even noticing like what differences are here. Yeah, and then just coming back to center. Yeah, now we're going to just do something really, really simple with our ears. So we're going to start with our right side. So just starting to, if you need to tuck your hair back, if you have long hair like Laura and I, Just starting to, with your thumb and pointer finger, just gently starting to just kind of like massaging and tugging down on your earlobe, and just being mindful if you're wearing earrings like I am, that you're not pulling. Yeah, and just almost like thinking of this as like just a gentle little stretch for your ears. You may have done this before. You might even know what it is that we're doing right now, or this might be the very first time you've done something like this. So, yeah, if it feels kind of funny or interesting, just noticing that. You can even just kind of just do this intuitively, like maybe it feels good to move in little circles. You can work your way up the ear, up towards more of the top of the ear. And just kind of same thing, just kind of gently tugging and massaging in circles. Yeah, and we're working with a really important nerve right now called our vagus nerve. It's our 10th cranial nerve, and it runs from the base of our skull down through our face, through our lungs and heart, our digestive tract. It's the longest nerve in the body, and it's literally the structure that connects our mind and our body. And it's a really important part of this work that we're doing in building our capacity to handle stress, to optimize our performance, our well-being, our leadership, how we show up in parenthood, all of it. And then we can pause here. Yeah, just simply notice that ear. Like maybe you notice it's warm now because we've been massaging it. Yeah, maybe you notice like a deeper breath, or maybe your breath is shifting in some way that you're noticing. So yeah, just kind of noticing like, oh, what do I notice here? Maybe it feels a little more open on that side. Maybe you're noticing a sensation now somewhere in your body that you weren't noticing before when we started. Like I'm feeling some tingling in my shoulder now that I wasn't feeling before. And we're going to do the same thing on the left side now. So just starting again on the bottom of your ear. My left hand is really cold today. So I'm like, oh, yep, I'm feeling that temperature right now. So yeah, just kind of making those observations of what you're noticing, like what's bringing your attention towards it. You might notice a swallow or even more saliva in your mouth. You might notice your shoulders just feeling a little bit heavier, like maybe they've dropped down just a little bit from your ears. We can work our way up now. We'll just be here for another 7 seconds or so. Yeah, a lot of our students and clients share that this is one of their favorite tools. And I'll share why here in just a moment. So we can pause for now, just dropping your hand down. Noticing that side now. Perhaps things feel a little more balanced, a little more even now that we've worked with both sides. And now we're going to gently, when you're feeling ready, just slowly start to turn your head toward the right again. So we're going to kind of do this little like before and after. So turning your head towards the right as much as you can turn it. For some people like myself, like I'm turning it way more than I was able to initially. Like now I'm seeing something in the corner of my office that I was not even remotely noticing before. So maybe you're noticing something different. Maybe you can see more of the space, like maybe it feels wider now. Maybe you're seeing further off in the distance. Yeah, maybe you're noticing colors that you weren't noticing, or objects that you weren't noticing before the first time. Maybe the tension in your neck feels like it's lessened a bit. Yeah, so just noticing what you notice here now the second time around. And then coming back to center, turning now toward the left. And again, same thing, just noticing like how much range of motion you have on this side now. how far, how wide you can see. We sometimes refer to this tool as field of vision, like quite literally working with that vagus nerve and parts of our nervous system to literally expand our field of vision, to tap into new possibilities that maybe we didn't even see or weren't accessible to us when we started, that now feel, yeah, accessible, that feel possible. You can come back to center. Yeah. So if anyone is joining us here live, if you're here with us live and you want to share what that was like for you, what yeah, what came up for you, what it felt like to kind of compare the before and after, please feel free. Yeah, Laura, is there anything you want to share about what that was like for you today?
Yeah, no, that was amazing, Kate. I definitely noticed my right side was very sort of tight when we started. And then after we did the ear, like I could turn like so much smoother, like there was less tightness. So yeah, it's amazing. Like just like doing like 30 seconds or even less than that, like how there was already a shift like in on the right side of my body.
Thanks for sharing, Laura. Yeah, it's I had the same. My right side, especially with my ear, like it tends to be tighter, like chronically compared to the left side. But when I turned to the right the second time around, by the way, for everyone tuning in, I had a really hectic morning. My 15-year-old or 15-month-old, not year old, oh my goodness, 15-month-old didn't have the best night of sleep. I didn't have the best night of sleep. We have family in town. Our schedule's just a little bit different, our routine. So we had a hectic morning. He was, just struggling a little bit and really wanted to be close to me. And so as I popped onto this call and I was doing it the first time, I had a very like narrow vision of what I was seeing. I was basically just seeing like the plant outside in our front yard, outside of the window. But when I looked the second time around, I saw a photo that's in the corner of my office that's of Santa Barbara, which is like one of my favorite places in the world. And so the second time around, it was like, oh, I could even connect with like the scene in that photo, and just even like I had a moment where it was like kind of almost taking me to that place that I love so much. So yeah, it's really powerful. And I just encourage you, like if this tool felt interesting to you, to try it on your own, because every time we do it, we can have a different experience based on what's going on in our lives or just in that moment, in that day and time. So yeah, just maybe noticing you feel maybe just even like 1% more present, maybe just a little bit more focused, maybe a little bit more energized, or maybe you're even feeling a little bit more relaxed. Maybe you yawn during that experience. That's pretty common as well. So yeah, we want to start just while we're here. Again, we have just these shift sessions are designed to be really short and experiential. So we're going to just talk for like the next 15 minutes or so about the truth that we see and the common trap that we see high achieving people, women and men, getting kind of stuck in time and time again, which is when they do this work, their goal a lot of times is to feel calmer. I was actually, and I shared this on my Instagram stories for those of you that follow Laura and I over there yesterday, which is I was having a conversation with a friend of mine just a week or two ago. And she's been, kind of just working on herself, trying to really support her well-being, her mental health, her physical health. And she's also a busy business owner, and she has 2 kids. And so, and she's had just a lot going on in her marriage this last year. And so just a lot on her plate. And, she was sharing with me that like, I just want to feel calm. I'm just tired of things feeling chaotic. I want my business to feel easier. I want working with our clients to feel just more seamless. I want motherhood to feel more grounded. I just want to stop feeling so activated all the time. And she used that very word. She used that word activated. We were on a phone call chatting. And so I was just listening to her, and I just wanted her to feel like heard and seen, like she could just share. And I asked her, I said, and I won't use her name just for confidentiality, but I said, what if avoiding activation wasn't the goal? What would it feel like for you to maybe be with that activation, even just by 1%? Like, what would happen if you did that? And she paused and she like got really quiet because she was reflecting. And again, we were on a phone call, so I couldn't hear her, but I could really like feel what was happening inside of her. And in my own body, it was like this like light bulb moment. I could like literally feel and see her having this like, oh wow, yeah, like I've never thought of it that way. And we kept talking, and as she was sharing, it was like this pattern that we hear time and time again, which is like, I'm doing all the tools, I'm doing my breath work, I'm breathing, I'm doing the tools like we just did right now, like the ear rubs, I'm working with my vagus nerve. I've been, listening to podcasts, I've been reading books, I've been, like for her, she's been in this work for some time. So she even has like a pretty big toolkit to support herself and to regulate herself when things are feeling intense. And as the conversation started to kind of unfold, it became really clear to her that she was trying to regulate every single sensation or uncomfortable moment away. And this happens, we see it time and time again with our neurosomatic students, with the ladies inside of our regulated CEO mastermind container, our private clients, our corporate clients, is that somewhere along the way, we started to believe that activation meant something was wrong. If we're activated, then it meant we were dysregulated. If we're activated, then we should pause, breathe, and try to regulate before we do anything else. And sometimes we need that, right? Like sometimes in our lives, our capacity is so low that we need those regulation tools to help build our capacity up so that we can feel equipped and capable to take on whatever it is that we're facing, whether it's a difficult conversation or a toddler tantrum or a high stakes meeting with a client. And that's just the first step. If we always are regulating anytime activation is present, especially when we already have capacity, we kind of sometimes get caught in this cycle where we're trying just to control our activations then. We're trying to regulate everything away when really it's the activation that's the very thing that's trying to help move us forward. The very thing that's trying to help us access our power and access that momentum that so many of us are really desiring, whether it's in our businesses, in parenthood, in our marriages. We've had a lot of clients recently that have been, just having a lot of hurdles and challenges in their romantic relationships and their intimate relationships in this season of life. Sometimes why being visible online can feel really hard or really crunchy or really scary. Yeah, so maybe just noticing, like, as I'm sharing that, what's showing up for you right now? And what your relationship to activation has been in this season. And our goal here is really to start to talk about these nuances between the difference between activation and dysregulation, because we often see Laura and I, the two get synonymized when they are quite different. And so part of our goal today here is to really debunk some of this and the myth around trying to regulate away activation. And so I'm going to pause here and just turn it over to Laura, who's going to talk about this pattern a little bit more and help us, just debunk this myth. And our goal here is, to really help you connect with your lived experience of this, like what has it been to date, and to offer just one simple thing that you can take away from our session today or our live conversation today that can really support you as you navigate this in your own life, in your own business.
Yeah, Yeah, thanks so much, Kate, just for that story you just shared. It was so powerful, and I feel like probably so many of you can relate to, yeah, this story that Kate just shared with her friend. Um and yes, I want to take a moment now and just orient us to, yeah, a little bit deeper of this pattern that Kate and I have observed over the years, and even within ourselves at times too, which is what we see in so many high achieving leaders, is that oftentimes these are leaders with, giant callings and massive hearts. And again, whether you own a company right now or you work for a company, or you're just like, again, you're a stay-at-home mom, like you're still a leader, right? So I'm speaking to all of you as leaders, with, some type of giant calling and a massive heart. And maybe you have survived intense seasons. You've survived a lot of intense seasons. And one of the ways that you've learned, or your nervous system has has learned to survive these intense seasons, is by one wise thing, which is power can cost you. So I want to take a moment, just pause there, just as you hear those words, power can cost you. Just see what shows up here. And so even when life gets better, our nervous systems still remember the price. So this is why then our nervous systems, right, try so hard, or you're like essentially part of your nervous system is trying so hard to feel calm. And really, like Kate was sharing today, what this whole like shift call is about today is that really like then, these leaders, you as a leader, right, are trying to regulate yourself out of your power. And so it's not because, again, you're weak, but it's because like your strongest survival strategy, your strongest nervous system survival strategy has been to lower the intensity. I need to lower the intensity in order to stay connected. Maybe it's to stay accepted, to stay employed, to be loved, to feel safe. And that makes so much sense. That really makes so much sense. And so what most leaders or high achievers is like, what most leaders or high achievers don't fear is necessarily the activation, but they fear the consequences of being powerful. Like if I get too activated, right, then there's too much charge there. There's too much power. And then there's consequences to that power. Because maybe in the past, right, that power led to disapproval, jealousy, punishment, abandonment, right? Pressure to hold everything together alone. So your nervous system started to overcouple activation, power, with loss. And your body has this really beautiful long memory, right? And so again, it's going to do everything it can to protect you. So as soon as it starts to feel any type of activation, whether that's like Kate was referencing earlier, like maybe you start to notice like, a little bit of tension somewhere in your body, or you start to notice like feeling a lot more heat somewhere, or you start to feel yourself like wanting to rush a little bit. And again, like there's nuance to these things and these conversations like we've been chatting about, but as soon as you start to feel that, right, your system might start to equate that as, oh, see, like this is getting too much. This is too much. We need to lower this. We need to be calm. But really, that activation is trying to show you something, right? It's trying to tell you something. So the nervous system, again, like is always trying to do its best to keep us safe. And so really a lot of this work that we teach with our private clients, or lead our private clients through, or whether it's our neurosomatic students or corporate clients, is really like how to discern more of this activation versus dysregulation, and really expanding your capacity to be with activation, because activation is oftentimes actually the direction that our system is trying to give us. Activation is capacity expanding. Activation is your calling knocking. So when your system labels activation as danger, right, sometimes you're trying to shut down the energy required for, selling with conviction, with visibility that lands, that creativity that converts, intimacy that nourishes, leadership that stabilizes, momentum that multiplies. So again, the goal here is not necessarily to avoid activation, right? It's actually to be with the activation and really listen and then see what it is it's trying to tell us, and maybe even use some of that activation as momentum for our lives, for our businesses, for the things that God is calling us towards. So your power, again, was never the problem. It's just that your body needed proof that it's finally allowed. And one last piece I'll just add to this in terms of like, when we're talking about like this pattern, and then I want to go into a little bit of like the reframe here. And this is something I'll just speak kind of from my own personal life and even some of the clients that I see as well, which is, so as a believer in God, one of the ways that God sometimes will lead us is through activation. So he will never just regulate us because he doesn't want us to be in chronic survival mode. However, sometimes when he is nudging us to change something or shift something or step into a bigger calling he has for us, that sometimes there's going to be activation that's going to come with that. So it's not always going to feel calm. It's not always going to feel in control. And that's part of the reason why I think sometimes we also lean on these, like trying to be calm or trying to subdue things, right? Is because a part of our system is trying to control. And that's not wrong or bad. There's a reason for that as well. But again, we need to actually, in order to really step into the full calling that he has on our lives, whatever that might be for you, there's going to be a level of activation there. And this is where the invitation then comes, right, to expand our capacity to be with that activation rather than trying to suppress it or make it go away or try to control it or manipulate it in some way. Yeah. So if this is landing for you, I'd love to hear anything like you want to share here in the chat, or just anything you're feeling even in your own body, your own spirit, or just your own mind right now, that like maybe thoughts that are coming in, like that you're really resonating with some of this, like just different points where you felt some level of like charge in your own body. And there was this immediacy feeling of like, oh, I need to like subdue this. I need to calm this down. Yeah. So I want to just now introduce us to a little bit of the reframe here, which is, what if the fire you've been suppressing is the very thing that God placed in you to carry your calling? So calm is not the goal, right? Calm can be the recovery, can be some of the recovery, like after you move. But you as a leader, you as a high achiever, don't necessarily always thrive on stillness. You thrive on purpose and support. So you don't need necessarily always less energy. You need more capacity for your energy. And you don't necessarily need fewer ideas. You need more structure to act on those ideas. So you don't need to dim your fire. You need a nervous system that can hold the heat. Because when you can hold the activation, you can hold more visibility, more abundance, more intimacy, more overflow, more of you, more of God. So the goal, again, isn't always necessarily to be calm. The goal is to be fully alive. And a regulated leader isn't quiet. A regulated leader is unmistakable. So we need to feel all of you. And this leader, you speak and people feel it. You lead and people rise. You carry what once would have crushed you, right? So again, you aren't called to always be calm. You were called to carry what God gave you to fully be alive and fully expressed. So I want to invite you now, just take a pause here and just notice the aliveness that's already here in your body. Maybe it feels like a subtle vibration in your chest or a gentle hum beneath your ribs. Maybe it's a spark of warmth in your belly. Maybe there's a buzz in your hands or a pulse in your throat. Again, we're not trying to smooth it out here. We're not trying to make it behave. Just maybe allowing you just 1% of whatever sensation or experience you're having right now to just be here, just letting your body have its own sort of electricity. Maybe noticing the movement, noticing the charge here. Because this is the beginning of accessing your full range. Yeah, so I want to just pause and just see how this is landing for all of you. If there's something you want to drop in the chat or just anything you're feeling in your own system as I've been naming all of this today. And even if you're watching on the replay, we would love to hear from you. So you can either send us a DM or you can, drop something in the comments saying, how I really felt that. Like, I've been feeling this for a while. Like, I've been doing all these practices, and there's just been this part of me that's actually been trying to actually almost suppress something that God is actually trying to emerge out of me. And again, these tools are powerful, and we teach these tools to our students and our clients, and there is nuance to these things like we've talked about, and we'll talk more about this. But today we want to just give the invitation that this work isn't about always being calm, like Kate was referencing at the beginning, and that actually if our goal is always trying to be quote unquote calm, we're actually at times we're shutting down the very parts of us that need to come forward, that are actually going to lead us into the next season that God is calling us forth into. And actually is a very powerful place to be when you can be with all sorts of sensations and experiences without feeling, while still feeling anchored. To have the full range of human emotions and experiences while still feeling anchored and not thrown off course. And that's really what we mean by this, right? So it's not that again, you're gonna feel the full range of human emotions and even just different experiences and sensations, but know deep down that I'm still okay, I'm still safe. I don't need to try to make this go away, right? Or try to control or force something right now. Yeah. So I know we're at time. We want to keep these shift calls obviously to around 30 minutes. So yeah, we'd love to hear from you how this landed. We're going to again be doing these weekly shift calls. So we look forward to seeing you next Thursday. We'll have a different topic. And yeah, like I said, if something really landed for you today in this shift call, we'd love to hear from you and chat with you. And we look forward to seeing you next week on the shift.
Bye for now.